Today we're going to be talking about nouns and articles in Spanish. So first, let's look at what a noun is. A noun is a person, place, or thing. In Spanish, nouns are a little bit different because every single noun has a gender. So whether I'm talking about a desk, a chair, a pen, a pencil, every single noun has a gender. So they are either masculine or feminine. The way we tell the gender is by looking at the last letter or letters. So let's look at masculine nouns. If it is a masculine noun, it ends in the letter O, OS, or most consonants. So again, masculine ends in O, OS, or most consonants. You'll see why we talk about most in a few minutes. Let's look at an example. So we have the word libro. Libro means book. It ends in an O, which tells us that that noun is masculine. If we look at libros, which means books, plural, it ends in OS, again, telling us that it is masculine. The word lápiz, or pencil, ends in a Z, which is a consonant, therefore it is masculine. And autobús ends in an S, which again is a consonant, therefore it is masculine. Remember, a consonant is any letter of the alphabet that is not a vowel. So if it is not A, E, I, O, or U, it is a consonant. Now let's look at feminine nouns. So a feminine noun ends in D, N, A, or AS. So notice we have two consonants in there. We have the letter D and the letter N. So this is why for masculine nouns it says most consonants, because we do have two that fall under feminine nouns. So if you look to the bottom right corner, I have a little DNA strand you probably have seen in science class. So remember, DNA is feminine. Some examples of feminine nouns include comunidad, ending in a D, which stands for community. Lección ends in an N, which stands for lesson. Escuela ends in an A. And escuelas, which means schools, ends in AS. So now I want you guys to draw on your notes. So if you look, there's two different boxes. One says masculino and the other one says femenina. So typically we think of the letter O as masculine, so I want you guys to draw an O and make it into a boy to help you remember that it is masculine. And then I want you to draw the letter A and put a girl next to it to help you remember that it is feminine. So take a second, you may pause this video and fill it in on your notes. Now we are going to practice together. So based on the rules that we just talked about, we are going to write an M for masculine or an F for feminine next to each word. So let's work on this together. Number 1, the word papel. It ends in an L. So think to yourself, is that a vowel or is that a consonant? That's a consonant, and it's not the consonant D or N, therefore it must be masculine. So we are going to write a letter M. Next one, comunidad, it ends in a D. So looking at our rules, remember a feminine noun ends in D, N, or A. So it is going to be feminine and we will put in F. Next one, color or color. It ends in an R, so think about your rules. R is a consonant and it is not the letter D or N, which means that it is masculine. Next one we have is nación. Nación ends in an N. Is that masculine or feminine? It's feminine because it's ending in an N. Remember, DNA is feminine. Next we have maleta. Maleta ends in an A. And remember, as I just told you, DNA is feminine. So it is going to be feminine and we will put an F. Our next one we have is chico. Chico means boy. So do we think that's going to be masculine or feminine? You're right, it's going to be masculine. And it's ending in an O to tell us. So now we are going to get into our articles. So it is very, very, very important that you guys understand what definite and indefinite articles are. So you need to memorize this because we are going to be working on both definite and indefinite articles at the same time. So definite articles are el, la, los, and las. And they mean the word the in English. So again, definite articles mean the, and they are el, la, los, and las. So now looking at some examples. So we are going to use the word el before a singular masculine noun. So example, el gato, the cat. We use la before a singular feminine noun. Example, la puerta, or the door. We are going to use los before a plural masculine noun. So example is los gatos, the cats. Again, we are talking about more than one, meaning plural. And we are going to use las before a plural feminine noun. So example, las puertas, or the doors. So now we are going to practice together and we are going to write a definite article to match the noun. So the first one is papel. We need to think to ourselves, papel, or the word paper. Are we talking about one paper or multiple papers? We're only talking about one, and an easy way to tell, which we'll talk about again later on, is it's not ending in an S. So that can tell us that we're only talking about one, meaning it's singular. Now let's look at the last letter. The last letter is the letter L, which is a consonant, which tells us it's going to be masculine. So if I'm talking about a singular masculine noun, my definite article is going to be el. So we would say el papel. Next one, we have los hermanos. So again, that ends in OS, telling us it is plural. So we would put los hermanos there. Profesora doesn't have an S on the end, meaning it is singular. And it's ending in an A, which tells us it is feminine, so it is la profesora. We also have estudiante. Now, this is a tricky one. We need to be careful. So we'll talk about this in a minute. But estudiante means student. However, this doesn't actually have a gender. The way we tell the gender with student is by putting either el or la in the front. So if we said el estudiante, it would mean the student, talking about a male student. If we put la estudiante, that would be the student talking about a female student. All right, next we're going back to diario. Again, no S tells us that it is singular. It ends in an O, which tells us it is masculine. So in front of a singular masculine noun, we are going to use L. And our last one is puertas. Puertas, it ends in an A and an S. So tells us that it is feminine, and the S tells us that it is plural. So we are going to put las in front. So of course in Spanish we always have some exceptions. Alright, we are always going to have them just like anything, and you'll learn this the more Spanish classes that you take. So there are a few words that we're going to look at. So the word el mapa Notice it ends in an A, however, it's actually masculine. The word la foto, it ends in an O, however, it is actually feminine. And el día, again ending in an A, however, it is masculine. There's also another one that means la mujer. Typically, if it ends in a consonant, it is masculine. However, the word la mujer means woman, so that is obviously going to be feminine. Alright, so now we are going to talk about what I said before with estudiante. So for some nouns, we can put el or la in front to indicate the gender of the person that we're talking about. So as we said before with estudiante, we can also do the same thing with joven, which means a young person. We can also do it with turista and conductor. So again, we do have some nouns that we can put the el or the la in front in order to determine what the gender is. Sorry about that. So, as we were saying, again, some we can determine the gender. For these words, they are words that you just have to memorize because, again, it's not most words, it's only a select few. So the only way to know it is just like everything else in Spanish, you have to memorize those words. This is the end of the first video. If you guys could please go to the next video and then you can fill in the rest of the notes.